while, Shane Bond. Thank you very much. You're looking good as usual. How's things?
Looking rough. That's 4 weeks of lockdown.
Yeah, man. I'm not kissing that face at the moment, but it's a good-looking face. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Obviously, like everyone else, finding things challenging at the moment. But normally I'd be in India.
Mate, how is homeschooling going?
Be spending some time at home.
How is homeschooling going?
Well, I'm lucky I've got a wife who's a primary teacher. So it takes me about 33 seconds before I lose my patience. So I'm leaving most of it to her. But that's good. It's been good. The kids are coping fine. So it's been nice to be around them for the amount of time that I have.
So is it unusual to be home this amount of time without sort of disappearing somewhere and coming back and disappearing and coming back? Is this a long stretch that longest stretch you've had for a while?
It is, mate. Usually I get a bulk of the winter. I think the Big Bash was just over 2 months away from home. Was going to be home for about 5 weeks, then spend 10 weeks in India, home for another 4 weeks, and then have 6 or 7 weeks of the 100. So winter this year, a bulk of it was going to be away from home. So now it's the reverse. I'm going to probably spend all of it at home, and hopefully the 100 or the IPL kick off at the back end of the year, which means the summer could be away a lot. But that's the nature of the job, and at least you get stints where you can be at home around the family.
It's almost like you haven't stopped playing. It's kind of almost a similar schedule, maybe even more busier.
Yeah, the last, I reckon, 5 years I've been away for 6 months, 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
Which is 9 months of international cricket. And also when you get home, you're generally a little bit more chilled out. So it's easy to say yes to everything. But as you said, then you end up away. You're never at home and I'll end up divorced. So I've got to try and find that nice balance. And I'm lucky, mate. I've got great jobs and they're going well, and the balance is about right. How do
you do you think you could stop the touring thing? Because when I stopped playing and was still, I did a little bit of media, but I found that when I was at home for extended periods in between jobs, I was going a little bit mad. I kind of missed the hotel living. I kind of missed the living out of a bag. I kind of missed having the hotel room and the whole bed to myself. Do you kind of feel like you still need that away time?
I think, I never travelled as a kid. We simply didn't have the money growing up.
Yep.
And so once cricket enabled me to have the chance to travel, I've had the travel bug ever since. And ever since we had our first daughter, we had a 10-year plan to do 2 months, 6 months travel trip away from home with them. And we ended up doing that. We've done that a couple of times. But I love the travel. I don't like being on the plane, but going to different places, meeting different people is fantastic. And it's hard to give that up once you've got it. And I think it's something I'll do even when I've finished coaching. So in terms of the lifestyle, yeah, it is. It's. I mean, we were lucky, mate. We got to see parts of the world you never get to see. And I hope that I've opened my eyes to the kids, to the world, and how big it is, and they can do different stuff overseas.
So you
love it.
You've been able to take your kids to a few places when you've been away coaching. That's you've been able to do that.
Not so much coaching. It was more planning the time in between. Take them and go and visit places, the France, the Italy's, the places like this, which are fantastic. The intention this year was to take my wife and son to Mumbai. Get them to experience that. It's just a bummer that they won't get the chance. Perhaps next year they'll get a chance to go to India, because India and the IPL experience is so unique. Particularly my son, who's a complete cricket head, tragic. He would absolutely love it. But I mean, on the flip side, they get to come to Australia for 3 weeks every year and experience the Big Bash, and they love that just as much.
Mate, the coaching thing, was that something you saw happening, or was that something that just kind of happened? Was that the big plan?
I think it was always a plan. I think when you finish as a player, there's the natural progression seems to be coaching or media, and I did a little bit of both. I always had a plan to coach. I always enjoyed thinking about the game, loved watching the game, liked helping people. Probably wasn't great at it when I was a player, but was a cop, so it's sort of probably my nature to help. And had an idea, having been a bowler, of how I thought the job could be done. And so I just set about a plan to do it. And then, you just develop it. It's completely different than playing. And I love doing it. So I'm lucky that I've been able to do it for as long as I have so far.
Kind of you went through all the range of emotions as a player. In some ways, the good and the bad has, and there was some real bad, has set you up for the coaching in terms of allowing players that you're spending time with to experience and to be able to deal with those highs and lows. Has that been a big? It sounds silly, but has all those bad bits been a massive asset?
Yeah, I think so. I think things around. I mean, I was hopeless as a youngster, lazy, unmotivated, realizing that you just can't write people off at 17 or 18, 19, that they can change their ways. Injuries, how to deal with injuries, setback, life after cricket, the highs of great performances to, as you say, being out of the game for 2 years and dealing with players now who have gone through similar things and injuries that I've had. And then, of course, along the way as a player, you are around a number of different coaches who do things that you like and don't like, and you formulate in your own mind things where you go, geez, I really like that, or I hate that. Yeah. And this is what I liked and disliked as a player, and how would I shape it if I got to do it? And then once you start down that path, it's a real learning curve, because there's one thing to think about it, it's another thing to actually have to do. Now, I'm 10 years into a coaching career now and still learning heaps and still enjoying talking to people and watching coaches across a range of sports about how they go about it and how they get the best out of people.
Mate, do you find it crazy that it was 10 years ago that you played? Do you find it crazy that it was, well, it's over 10 years, but only just over 10 years that it was, that last test match against Pakistan was November, December 2009. And has that gone fast, or is that still yesterday, or does it feel like it's 10 years ago? How does that feel?
It still feels like it's not 27 years ago since I left school. I think it's something outrageous now. So, yeah, it is. I mean, it's funny here at the moment because there's no cricket on TV. They're replaying old games. They're replaying the 1980s World Series cricket, which I grew up on, which is awesome. Yeah, and they're playing the 2003 World Cup. And so Ryan's getting to watch games of me playing where I'm fresh-faced and a little bit thinner. And go, geez, young. So when you see the midriff and you see the wrinkles in the mirror and see yourself on TV, you suddenly realise, yeah, it has been 10 years. But
I find myself when I'm watching cricket, especially when I'm watching a fast bowler bowl, I still flinch at a delivery that probably would have hit me. So I'm kind of pretending I'm the batsman, and I would flinch, and someone sitting next to me would be like, "What?" Do you still find yourself sort of in the game and in that moment of reacting and responding like you would when you play?
Yeah, I think you remember moments, and then, as I said, watching some of the highlights of games, there are instances in those games that you've forgotten, but that re-triggers that game or those emotions or the feelings at a certain period of time. And then the same when you're watching, I'm watching my son play now, and you're hoping he's going to do well, and it brings back those fears, anxieties, excitement that you had when you were playing. So I don't think you'll ever lose that, because, I mean, having played at the top level, you sometimes in a quiet moment reflect back to some crazy times and moments and exciting times that we had and we were fortunate enough to get to do.
You mentioned the fear with bat. Where were you had the most fear when you were walking out to bat, or you were out in the middle and when was that moment? There's a game in Joburg, test match you played. I did not want to bat. Had to go out. I did not. It was staining and teaming, and I just did not want to bat. The Wanderers pitch was starting to plate up. It was starting to sort of wobble as well. I was happily to declare 8 down, because that was not. Do you have any of those moments where I don't want to do this. This is silly.
Yep, my second test when I got my first bat was against Brett Lee with the new ball, and we were going to declare, and I was praying we were going to declare. I was angry as I walked out because, I mean, I was walking out of club cricket into facing the fastest bowler in the world, and was playing for a period of time. Was playing the man, not playing the ball. Yeah. And I started for a while having the chest guard, the arm guard, the whole caboodle, and knew I could bat a little bit. And it got to a point where I said, look, enough's enough. I'm going to remove the chest guard. I'm actually going to practice hard and forget about getting hit. Back that I can hit the ball and try and, that first test match I was backing away too, and the boys were giving me shit. Oh. So that was the big determining factor that I want to cop grief from the guys around me. So I started to do that. that's not to say it wasn't frightening. Facing Dale Steyn as a night watchman was frightening, but you've just got to say, look, if I watch the ball and forget about who's bowling to me, then hopefully my hand-eye coordination is good enough to be able to handle it. Unfortunately, it wasn't.
There's this thing about watching Trent Boult bat, and it's like every tail ender put into one, he still backs away, he still walks across the stumps, he does some outrageous things, but he connects. He's like every single tail ender you've ever wanted to be. But how is he having that? I just find it amazing how much success he has, and he still bats 11. It's sort of like, I would love to have been able to that good at number 10 or 11.
I think that's an indicator. I mean, look at Southey and Boult can seriously, but they're probably a little bit fearful. And they're good enough that they'll still score runs and hit sixes. And if you took away that fear element, if they could get over it, they would be serious players. Tim would be batting 7. I mean, he can pull some of the best fast bowlers in the world. And Boult's shown he can, although he does the flamingo and is unorthodox, got amazing hand-eye coordination, test 50s, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So this goes to show, it's easier. That's why I like bowling. I've always felt safer when I was bowling. But you're betting it. I mean, that's why I suppose from our point of view, mate, you watch the very best batsmen and understand the fear factor and how they can come out against ferocious bowlers on difficult wickets and play the way that they do. Without a helmet, you think back in the day, unbelievable.
The amount of surgeries you've had, Shane. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's go to the 15 times you've been under the knife. How many times is it you were under the knife?
Once for my back and once just a little minor one for my knee. So the main one was my back.
Yeah. So you only had, I thought you'd had a couple on your back, but it's only just one.
Just one, yeah.
And how many did they fuse together in that surgery?
No, they fixed up L5. I was lucky in some respects. When they did the scans of my back was in pristine condition. So my discs were all great. The only problem is the L5 vertebra just keep fracturing. So they fixed that up and tightened it up. And thankfully, post-cricket, I've had no problems with my back. I've been fine, been active. It's been really good. Obviously, you get guys like Brendan McCullum who's had disc problems. Yeah. And it's almost worse in terms of the pain and ongoing once you finish playing. So, fortunately for me, once I stopped bowling, the pain was never going to be an issue. And I've stopped bowling and I've been great. So now it's a matter of helping and working alongside the James Pattinsons, the Jason Behrendorfs, the Corey Andersons, the Matt Henry. These guys have had similar surgery to me and sharing experiences, them offering some advice on how it was and what it looks like once you get playing again. So
you only L5 was the only problem, and you've never had anything fused. So you never lost any mobility, and you've never lost any rotation, any shock absorption.
No, I mean, but I had seven fractures in my back. So if you look at a fracture there's about 9 months from injury to starting up and being at full steam again. You're effectively losing 6 years, 5.5 years of your playing career just through having that back injury.
How did that, mate? Like that. Look, I mean, I kind of know some of it. I never had any surgery on my back, but mostly because it was too far wrecked to have surgery on. If you've ever seen the scan of my lower back, it's mind blowing. But the repetitive rehab, bro. How do you keep? Oh, we'll go again, and we'll go again, and come on, we'll go again. How do you keep doing that?
Good question. I just had goals. Like there's some stats and things that I wanted to tick off across the way. I want to go to some World Cups. I want to get 100 Test wickets, get 100 one-day wickets. There's some series I wanted to play in, and so that was the motivating factor. Then I got to 34, and I knew how hard I had to work to stay on the field. And I looked forward to what the cricket was coming up, and I just thought, actually, the level of training, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And that was the point that I thought, well, it's time to hang up the boots. I'm still bowling fast, still playing well. I thought, actually, if I'm not motivated to do the training, then it's time to hang it up. So it happened pretty quick for me. I was thinking about it, and then was playing the T20 World Cup. Just thought, this is it. Said to Dan Vittori, mate, this is my last ball in international cricket, bowled it, and that was it. And thankfully, I've never missed it. Never looked back and gone, what if? Or I love to have got 100 Test wickets, but have no regret. Bloody lucky.
So you told Dan as you were bowling your last ball, that was his first sort of indication. I mean, most people kind of get an idea of what's happening, or you kind of get a feel of, yeah, he probably is, maybe this and maybe one more tour sort of thing. But you told Dan, right, last one. Dan's at mid-off normally. You're on the last ball in international cricket.
I did, mate. The World Cup was 2011 World Cup was in, I think, February, March. This was May, I think, of April of 2010.
Yeah.
And I just knew we were going to Bangladesh, India. There's some really tough tours to come ahead. And I just thought, I just haven't got it in me to do this. So he tried to have a quiet word after and said, "You sure you don't want to go to the World Cup?" And I'm like, "No, mate, I'm done." Yeah, it was as simple as that, mate. Last ball.
That's cool. I love that. But and also that's very Dan Vittori in a kind of a way that he would have appreciated, if that makes sense. He would have quite enjoyed that little moment, I think, with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, we've always been close, and we were close when he was captain. And I sort of felt a little bit guilty because I'd love to have helped out at a World Cup, because I probably still could have. But look, then that would have been for selfish reasons. If I'd gone, I wouldn't have been as prepared and ready as what the team needed. So look, it was time to hang it up and pass that baton on. But yeah, it was nice to be able to have a quick word to him before I decided to, and then a couple of runs in the bar afterwards.
Mate, I love that. That's a cool story. I've never heard that before, but I love the way that you've framed that and just gone, right, that's me done. The couple of tests I got to play with you, so I feel hugely privileged to be able to play a couple of tests with you, but they were also at the same time kind of like your both of your last test matches that you played. There was one in Joburg, which I think we backed up after about 3 hours off the park. We'd gone for plenty. I think we did 3 hours off the park batting, not too good, and then we're back out. And you've ripped an abdominal, haven't you? You've sort of was that off the rib or off the hip, or just?
I just ripped about 5 centimeters through the
middle,
through the stomach here, and it was almost like I had a pot belly because it filled up with blood, and that was the end of that. I mean, to be fair, people were lucky to play back-to-back tests for me, because I don't think I did it very often.
Well, no, they weren't really back-to-back. They were back-to-back test matches. Good point. Yeah, they were. They were just sort of 2.5 years apart, I guess.
Yeah.
Mate, and then, so how, again, like, these injuries kept happening. So it's not just the back surgeries, it's the abdominal injuries that kept happening. You just hated your body. Surely you just sort of, what am I doing?
I think I was my own worst enemy. I was lazy and unfit when I was younger, and through that, I think in a bit of a crappy technique, I got injured through my late teenage years. I stopped playing rugby in the last year at school. It was the worst thing I could have, because you're naturally keeping fit, and so I lost that fitness, didn't make it up, came out of this winter, no training, injured, spent 3 of the next 4 years with a back injury, so never really got a grounding of work, and some resilience into my body. And so because of that, when I actually started and bowling properly fast, it was really at international level. And so the amount of cricket you play and the intensity you got to play it with, and the fact that my role was to bowl quick, was a recipe for disaster. So I got the best out of myself bowling fast. That was my role in the team, which came at risk because my body just didn't handle it. So look, I just had to take it for what it was. The one thing I wasn't going to do was not be professional and not train hard and be fit. So I was all those things, and you just accept that's what comes with it. Some blokes never get injured. Other blokes get injured heaps. So, you watch back now and see Pat Cummins, who was like myself from 18, had a mountain of injuries. Thankfully for him, he started young, and now he's had 2-3 years. At 26, he's the best bowler in the world, and he's awesome. And you see an Adam Milne who's had a similar rate, bowls really fast, unbelievable athlete, super fit, but he can't stay on the field through no fault of his own, which is, I know how he feels, and I'm hugely disappointed for him. But that's the nature of sport. It's just the way it goes.
How did you deal with the because then there's your own pressure, there's wanting to turn up for your teammates, and we sort of talk about playing for your country, but it's sort of a little bit, it's not quite as strong a feeling. You're playing for your teammates as opposed to you playing for New Zealand. It's another game of cricket with some guys that serious players. So it doesn't, that for me didn't you're playing for New Zealand, but it's a team that you're playing for. But you've also got to deal with the media critique of those injuries and them hypothesizing that he's obviously not doing the work and he's not fit enough and he just falls to bits and he might as well just give it up because he's sort of creating this disjointed team where he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. What is happening? Is he going to even bowl in the second innings? How do you deal with the media side of it?
Easier nowadays because there's no social media.
Yeah.
That would be one. So you just don't read the newspapers.
Did you?
Once you don't watch them? Oh, nah, I didn't really. I read them if I did good, and then didn't get yourself an ego boost. And then if you got into that, you just didn't read them. So you never tried to get the bad side of things. My mum would ring me up and tell me, "Oh, this person's having a go." It's like, "Mum, just don't listen to it. It's not worth it." You know, it's you've got to trust the people who know that the work you're putting in, and that's all that matters. More challenging now from a coaching point of view when you've got young players who are reading social media and are getting worn down by the barrage and personal messages that are flying their way telling them how useless they are. That's actually really, really tough. And it's hard not to tell them to look at it because that's the way it rolls these days. So, look, for me, it was just, it's just the way it goes. I'll just keep coming back and see what happens, and hopefully people will understand or hear through the mill that you're doing what's required to be successful.
Mate, you played, like when you said you started your international career and you hadn't done a lot. How many games had you played for Canterbury, etc.? How many? Because you'd even had a couple of pops at that in terms of injuries before your New Zealand career. You didn't have much of a bit of sort of domestic groundwork before you made that New Zealand team.
Mate, I reckon I would have had late teens, 20 first-class games maybe.
Maybe sort of a season, 2 seasons.
Spread over about 5 years, you know. That's the unbelievable thing. I mean, my first year, I think I played 6 or 7 games, a few the next year, injured. Then I went to the police college, missed a year, you know, then played half a dozen more, went on an A tour, and bang, I was in. It was sort of that sporadic. So to be able to string games together was challenging for me. So that's what you miss the most. You love the game so much. You just want to be able to play, you know, day after day after day. That's why I enjoyed going. And I was lucky I had a couple of stints in county cricket where you played you didn't train a lot, you just played. And I loved it. And I just wish I had a couple of years. And I had a couple of really good seasons for New Zealand where I stayed on the park, particularly when we were playing a lot of white ball cricket. But would have loved 2, 3, 4 years where with, you know, not many injuries, we got some real continuity and flow, but it didn't really happen.
Do you think that your body needed that day after day after day after cricket so that you could firm up the castle, if you like, you know, keep that castle walls strong and going, as opposed to having a week off here and there and things were just starting to sort of fall away?
Yeah, I think you need that real base fitness, and then once you got going, it's stopping bowling is the worst thing. You just wanted to keep going. You take a small break here and there, but really you just didn't want to lose that resilience. And that's the hardest thing with when you're like me, who were getting injured. Then coming back again, the risk was always up. And just getting over that hump is the worst one. I really got over it, to be fair. But, you know, you look back and go, well, I think I strung together 120 games for New Zealand. That's without all the first-class games. You know, that's not too bad, even though it was spread over 8 years or something.
That's correct. 5 years to get your New Zealand debut, but there was only 20 games. That's mind blowing. But the pause in the middle there for your police college, that was because of the injuries. You sort of thought, well, all these injuries, I'm going to go and do this, or was that something you just always wanted to do?
Something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be a cop, and you know, we were amateur back then, so it was. I thought if I'd give playing for New Zealand a go, and that would be because I just wanted to play for New Zealand, and then the real job would be being a policeman. And I just got to a point where I thought I'm never going to make it here. I'm not going to play for New Zealand. I need to get a real job. So that's what I did. Something I always wanted to do. Got in, and the only thing I realised when I was in the police, we did my training over summer, so I missed a season of cricket.
Yeah.
And it came off the back of a league season in England where I did really well, played the whole season, had developed a little bit of resilience, bowled a lot of overs, and then all of a sudden, bang, I was at police college. And just really missed the game. Just realised walking around the streets of Christchurch, geez, I just missed playing cricket. and thought, no, I'm gonna give it a go and try and train properly, and I'm just gonna come back and really enjoy it and just try and bowl fast, because it doesn't really matter now if I get injured because I've got a real job. And that's what I did. Came back and just tried to bowl quick, and for whatever reason, I did bowl fast, and loved every minute of it. And I suppose the no pressure or the lack of pressure that my career was on the line made a massive difference.
So that was, there's a really interesting thing, that there was a lot of time when I was playing when maybe wasn't going so good. I didn't quite have the skills you had, but did okay. For you know what I mean. But there was a lot of days where I thought, okay, today's career day. If I don't get today right, this is going to probably be one of my last games. And I had many of them, and thankfully I did okay, or did good enough to not give them a reason to necessarily drop me in the subsequent games. But playing with that freedom of, can't be a cop if I have to, that does free you up, doesn't it? That loosens up your mind completely.
Massive. I mean, that's half the battle of being an international player, is that thing of, am I good enough, and how long is it going to last, and am I on the chopping block? And if you fret about those things too much, it will overwhelm you. Whereas I never really had that feeling. It was, I don't think I'm ever going to make it. And once I got my go to New Zealand, it was sort of trying to get a test wicket and then wondering when it was all going to be wrapped up and I was going to be back to being a policeman. And so, look, played a little bit, kept going well, and then obviously came back, had a good series in Australia. And Chris Cairns was going, he was saying, what are your goals? I was like, mate, I'm just here for the ride. This is awesome. And he said, no, set your target high. Try and be, what's stopping you being the best bowler in the world? I never really thought about it. Mm-hmm. And the little bit of success I had against Aussie in the one-day series sort of completely refocused me to, no, I'm going to set that goal and have a real go at it. And I think I never really worried about getting dropped, or I just focused on the goal and let the rest of that take care of itself. And I was lucky that even though I was injured, like when I played reasonably well. So selection, I never really felt like my place was, or I was never going to get dropped.
Yeah, I was going to say, fair to say that you were never going to get dropped. I think given the skills, you never had a barren period, did you? You never had a period where you kept going for plenty and weren't taking wickets, did you?
No, I was lucky in that. And that was the thing. People always said, why don't you slow down and, just control? And I said, well, my role, I got the best bowling fast, and my role in the team, and I was most effective in the team, trying to run and bowl flat out. So it was a hell of a lot of fun. And yeah, I was lucky. And even when I knew I wasn't bowling well, I just took the attitude that, like batting, it only takes a couple of balls that land in the right spot and you get a couple of wickets, and your confidence comes back and away you go again. So I'm a big believer that form, there's not really too much. Form's a bit of a myth. It's all mindset. And as a bowler, if you just keep running in and hammering away, even if you're not at your best or your rhythm's not there, it doesn't take much for it to flip. And then you start forgetting about form. You just worry about getting people out.
What did you have as? You can't have been that blank when you're bowling and just sort of sitting there going, it'll happen, it'll click. I don't think anyone can sort of do that in a game. I think we all have, is it going to? When is it going to? Please, I need to find something here. So where did you go? What did you have to sort of do to yourself to sort of, I guess, calm yourself down to take those out? But what were your thought patterns to find it again? What did you go back to?
Well, look, you're obviously trying to find a rhythm that comes with a certain amount of bowling. So at the start of the season, you're trying to find that perfect timing where it's almost effortless. I'm a massive believer that bowlers, especially fast bowlers, set the tempo for and the energy for your team. So whether I was bowling crap or not, if you bowl crap, you'll deflate your team, but you'll deflate it even more if you drop your bundle. So I was a big believer that even if I'm not bowling as well as what I want, I've got to present myself in a manner that looks like I'm coming in and I'm not quitting and I'm going to keep coming at you. And then in the meantime, all I was really trying to do was I describe it as a photo. If I ran in and bowled and the other end was as still and as clear as a photo, that generally meant that my head was still and I could put the ball where I wanted. And at times when I was struggling, my head was just bouncing around a bit, so I was always just looking for it. But in my mind, I was saying, just run in and let it go. Pick where you're going to bowl it, run in and let it go. And sooner or later, it's going to click into gear. And often I just had a moment where I went, yeah, it's back, and away I go. That's why I'm a massive. I was a fan of yours because you ran into the window, did the yards, and for me, that inspired me. It was like, right, if he's going to do that, and I think Neil Wagner has the same effect on New Zealand now. Watching him, it's inspiring, and you can see him lift everybody in the team. And I loved playing with bowlers like that, and I love seeing bowlers who do that now. And it's frustrating. And one of my big things coaching is trying to get bowlers to understand the importance of body language in the way they present themselves for their team and against the opposition.
Mate, I watch Neil Wagner and I get annoyed at myself because it's like, that's the job I used to do and you're way better at it than I was. But it's
amazing.
It's just like, come on, man, give me a chance here. He's just a phenomenal turn around and go again. But I say, conversely, yourself at the other end, you have to be bowling quick. You have to be doing damn well if he's going that well. So he puts pressure on you to step up. I know you two haven't played together, but you know what I'm saying. How do you then justify that, when there is some pressure on you because the other guy's going so well and you cannot let this team down?
Well, I didn't really think about it. I mean, I had good bowlers around me, the Mills, the Orams, the Toughies, the Martins, yourself. We had a Vittori, doing a job at the other end. I didn't really think about it too much. Always it felt that if I was bowling well, the economy rate would take care of itself.
Yeah.
The challenging part was when you weren't and you didn't have your rhythm. And that's the point where you'd go, well, maybe I've got to drop a point sweeper out. I've got to give myself a little bit more cover here and do a slightly different job. But I'm still taking the mindset that I'm running in and trying to bowl flat out and trying to land the ball with intensity and purpose that never changes regardless if someone's going down the other end. And I never really thought about anything other than doing that. But still find it weird now when you talk about I'm looking to take wickets, when you hear those sort of cliches on the thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I was really looking to take wickets. I was just looking to bowl good balls. And with your skill, if you bowl the ball at the top of off stump with some swing, you've got a pretty good chance of getting wickets. As long as I did that aggressively, ran in hard and committed to what I was bowling, I mean, the rest of it's out of your hands once you let the ball go.
That Australia series that gets played all the time and you're ripping poles out the ground and taking edges, etc. That was your announcement as, here's Shane Bond. That's when the whole world changed for you in terms of what you could do and what the world saw that you could do. How did it change? How did things change around that series and you having to deal with other pressures?
It was more, you look back and I was bowling wide balls that were getting cut to third man and leg stump half volleys getting flipped to fine leg. I was bowling some junk in there as well. Didn't have a slow ball. And I just had some luck. I was bowling quick, but I had some luck. And thankfully for me, it was against Aussie who come hard at you, so they present chances. The biggest thing was confidence and belief. If I was a part-time cricketer playing the best team in the world and having some success, I thought, well, if I train properly, there's no reason why I can't be successful. And it went from a case of, we would win these games back in the early 2000s, and we would win, we would go out. We'd win, we'd go out and celebrate. And it was, this could be my last game again. To very much a refocus to now I'm gonna go out and we'll win, and I'll prepare for the next game. And so my level of professionalism and everything changed through that series because it was a complete refocus to, I'm not just enjoying this now. This is my real chance to turn cricket into my job. And I want to do that because I realised how much I wanted to do that when I was working as a policeman. And for me, then a year later, the contracts came in. So there was the opportunity to actually be a full-time player. And then for the next 8 years or 7 years, that's what I ended up doing. It was brilliant.
So you're just running and trying to bowl fast, and all of a sudden you're taking poles against the best team in the world, and then you start realizing that, I could maybe do this. Really?
Yeah, it was like that. It was, as I said to you, I got a wicket in my first game in the one-day game. I got a leg stump half volley. I played South Africa. Callis hit me for 4 fours and an over. Then I bowled him a half tracker, hit it straight up in the air. I was bowling a real mixed bag of stuff. No slow ball. But as you said, I think I knocked Gilly over with the Yorker, and I thought, Jesus, if I can knock this bloke over, then holy hell, I can do it here. So, and then the whole time I was playing that series up until that point, it was almost, please don't get hit, please don't get hit, to, okay, now what am I going to do now to get somebody out? So it was a real mindset shift for me, and that was when my game started to really take off.
Is that the clearest wicket that you can? It's the most replayed wicket of yours, isn't it? The Gilly one. Is that the clearest one in your mind? Can you remember much about that, or can you just remember the highlight?
Yeah, I just remember thinking I'm just going to bang it into the deck, good heart length, and just missing by about 4 meters. And thinking, what happened there? How good's this? And there's times where you're trying to get top of off and you bowl a Yorker, or you miss by so much and get a wicket, and people say, gee, that was a good one. You go, oh, I wasn't really supposed to be there. And that was one of those balls. I was just trying to hit the deck hard and missed it by miles. Thankfully, it was right in the block hole on leg stump, and it knocked them over. Yeah, it was bizarre.
It's mind blowing that. And this is something I keep looking at other sports. I look at tennis, I look at snooker, and I look at golf. And these guys are magicians with some of the things that they do. They hit a ball and they know if it's going to hit the line or not. They're aiming for the line, say in tennis, and etc. And we're trying to bowl a ball as best as we can. And everyone says, oh, they can land it on a tea towel, etc., etc. We're missing by, like you just said, we're missing by 4 meters regularly. And sometimes they come up good and sometimes they come up. How do we explain that as elite athletes, if you like? How do we explain that to ourselves? How do you get past that?
It's amazing. You do simple drills with elite players and give them 2 meters to hit in a channel, no better. And quite often you'll be surprised as how many times they can actually do it. And it's like anything, you put a pitch map up on the screen, and there's 3 or 4 meter difference between and I'm sure they're most of the time on the same spot, but there's just a margin for error. So then you get to a game where you're trying to hit a line like the Yorker. You're trying to hit a line against the batter in the highest pressure moment of the game, and you expect to do that 6 times in a row. It's just almost impossible. So look, it's just I don't know, to be fair. I mean, I'm a big baseball fan, and the level of accuracy of a pitcher there is unbelievable. And in cricket, I don't think we're quite near there, but there's so many different moving parts, and bowling is so unique and so different. I think that's what makes the game so great, is just those little the variety and the variation. And on some days you feel you can't miss, and on other days you can't hang it.
That natural variation is an asset. That natural variation in length and that natural variation in delivery speed, because it doesn't always come out at the same speed. So they are a bowler's weapon, if you like. And Kyle Mills used to always just shout at me, bowl the same ball. And I was like, okay, fair enough, I'm trying to. It's not coming out quite like it always. How do we bring that in? Like, because you say you hit a Yorker and you're supposed to be bowling hard length. That's almost 6 meters, sort of 5 and 6 meters out. How do we bring that in? Is there something that you've picked up in your coaching time that bowlers could be doing better, could be bringing that area in tighter?
I just look at it, try and keep it as simple as I can. So a Test cricket, T20 cricket, you look at about 6 meters at Test cricket, 7 meter length for a T20. You just got to bring it back a touch, and you say to a bowler and they'll look at that and go, it's probably too short. And I go, that's probably fair, but the fact of the matter is you are not going to hit that line every ball. You're going to either come slightly back, or you're going to bowl a meter and a half full of it. Yeah. What you are going to do either side of that is be difficult to score off. And what you do want to do is when it's fuller, it wants to be into the wicket and not a floaty ball. If you try and bowl 4 meters and float it up there, you miss the other side, you're going to get whacked. And even backwards of that, it's going to be a soft delivery. So keep it simple. Here's a target, hit that target, and either side of that, you're going to be relatively effective. Particularly in T20, it's even more simple because you don't really have to try and get anyone out. The batter's going to bring the game to you anyway.
Finish.
Yeah, and then you allow natural variation to play its game. And it might be a different surface or a different situation. Again, you might adjust that by a meter, but honestly, it's 6 to 7 meters. There's not too much difference in.
Yeah. It doesn't change, does it, that much between the different formats? You probably had more success playing white ball cricket because you played more white ball cricket. But I'm going to put you in you wanted to play way more Test cricket than that. You would have you would have ideally played a lot more Test cricket.
Yeah, I'd have loved 150, 200 Test wickets. Test cricket was so hard. Loved it because of each win you had to work so much for it. And plus, it's one thing to get a batter out in white ball cricket, but to get them out in a 4-day or a Test match game, you felt like you'd always earn, especially the best players, you had to earn their wicket. And I was lucky. We were lucky. We got to play in an era of, the Lara, the Tendulkars, the Callis, and Pontings, some of the great batters of all time. And it was trying to tick them off the list. Oh, I've got him out and got him out. And that was exciting to play against those. Every team had some unbelievable batters in it, and trying to get them out was a fun part of the game. I always saw Test cricket as the pinnacle, but I'm also wary now because there's a real push to protect Test cricket that my era and the eras before cannot dictate to the younger generation what it's going to look like. My son, not a real fan of Test cricket, finds it boring. And that's what the next generation might not have any interest in. And I suppose that's the thing. Much as I loved it, it's not for us to
But Test cricket is boring.
It's boring. I cannot watch TV as much now as what I used to. I find it's one-sided. The home team wins 90% of the games. I still love the individual battles and good, solid Test cricket. There are periods of the game where it's sensational, but 5 days I just cannot do it. Particularly, if teams go to India, they get flogged. Most of the teams who go to Aussie get flogged.
Yeah,
we're really hard to beat here. England beat up on teams back in there. It's just you always feel like it's weighted too much in favour of the home team.
But I justify Test cricket as boring by saying it's also it's also brilliant. So don't let me not get that one wrong. And right. like it is boring, but hot damn, there is some periods of cricket that you cannot find in any other format. There's some one-on-one battles that you said. There's some one-on-one battles that you're just not going to get in any other format. That the head-to-head is that's the game to see for the head-to-head. What did you just say? You just said something that that made me think of something, and it's now gone. Where are you next? Where are you? You're supposed to be in India right now, aren't you?
Yeah. Supposed to be the IPL, so just waiting and seeing. Then we're supposed to be at the 100, so...
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Maybe that's next year. They'll just have to wait and see. And that's another year of Big Bash coming. So it was bang, bang, bang again. It's fun. So much fun to coach a whole range of players from different countries and different competitions. And also to get to work with coaches, different coaches and different people. You learn so much just by talking to different people and watching them go about their work. It really is a hell of a lot of fun.
What have you, without giving away names, what are some of the bits that you've gone, oh, really love that, really like that, and I wish I could add that to my skill set? Have you come across, of course you've come across a lot of that.
No, look, I think when I look at I've had two coaches who I played a lot against, Mahela and Ricky. Mm-hmm. Ricky Mahela, J.O. Wardner, who have been my two head coaches at Mumbai. Yeah. Sensational guys. Very similar in that they're very direct, very honest, want to get the best out of people, but the way in which they can communicate with all the parties within, not only the owners, the coaches, the players, the way they do that and lead, it's been fantastic to sit back and watch that. So, and then when you look at bowling coaching, there's only a handful in New Zealand, and there's only pockets around the world. So when you get the chance just to sit down and talk to a John Lewis or a David Saker or Troy Cooley, I find it exhilarating. It's really a lot of fun to talk about bowling and what it looks like and drills and what are they doing. And the thing that I've probably learned the most is you just got to keep it simple. I mean, it's a complicated game that you can overcomplicate, but you've got to bring a whole range of information and just keep it real simple.
The talk just a little bit of media at the moment about possibly legalizing some form of ball tampering. Now take me back to the West Indies Test match at Eden Park.
Yeah. That was so good. That was the most willy-nilly piece of officiating I think I've ever seen. I think it was Daryl Harper. I love Daryl.
So I didn't play this Test match. I wasn't part of the team at the time, but. So, Chris, someone hit the ball out of the park. That's right. We
we were defending about 270.
Yeah.
And we were getting, the West Indies were about 1 for 150, and Chris Gale was on a heap, and Darren Ganga was on a heap. And Chris hit the ball on the roof, and they for whatever reason, they didn't have a ball that was anywhere near 50 overs old. So they got a newish ball and just scraped it on the concrete on one side to age it. And then it went around corners, and we got it out there, and it went everywhere. So the legalised ball tampering, if it involves anything around scratching a ball on a concrete surface, it's going to be real trouble for batters around the world.
It's just the best story I've ever heard in cricket.
Oh, it was so good. It was like playing back with a tennis ball with a bit of tape on it. It was just going everywhere.
Were you standing there watching the umpire just scratch it up, going, "This is"? It
was just bizarre. It was sort of bizarre, thinking this actually could go everywhere, and it did. It swung heaps, and then we just ran through them. And won by 20 runs when they never looked like losing the Test match. So that's the impact, as you said, that it could have on the game. So look, I've seen what they're talking about. The biggest thing I'd say is I wouldn't have that conversation now. Often when something big happens, there's a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, what do you do? I mean, yeah, I know you spit on the ball and you rub it into your trousers. So generally, you're looking after the ball. So there's not too much actual spit on the ball. There's sweat. Guys are high-fiving.
Yeah.
You win a trophy, drinking beer out of the same trophy. You're at a buffet table. You're around each other 2 months on tour, living in each other's space. It's just natural if someone gets sick. Other people are in the group are. But for all of that, it really happens. So I would wait if I was the ICC and just sit back and go, oh, hang on, is this just a knee-jerk reaction to... Because what does it mean off the field? And I think of sports like rugby, mate, where you take a mouth guard out and then pick the ball. Do you not allowed to take your mouth guard out anymore? So sometimes you just got to take a chill and just wait till the dust to settle before you start doing things like that.
Yeah, now that one just seemed like a bit of media for media's sake, or almost, as opposed to someone asking the ICC, well, what do they do about the spit? It sort of absolutely will not happen, I don't think, because it's just you can't please.
It wouldn't surprise me, because I think sometimes you've got to be seen to be doing something. My biggest thing would be, why don't we just wait till we get playing the game again, and then make some decisions when we know what the world landscape looks like when we're either over this or we're not over this. The biggest thing would be a knee-jerk reaction, and you bring in a new law that's horrible. It's just a shambles. So yeah, it'd be interesting.
Hey, let's ditch cricket for a bit. But you're in Christchurch, aren't you?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. Mate, how was living through the whole earthquakes and stuff? You've been Christchurch born and bred and still I wasn't too sure, but yeah, still there, mate. Living through those earthquakes and still disappearing for work at the same stage. I'm guessing through that period.
I was just talking about that with the family the other night. We were talking about both the earthquakes and what the kids did, where were they when it happened, and I was away for both. I went. First one was 2010, September. So I was working as a coach with CD at the Champions Trophy.
Yeah.
And I still remember Mitch McClenaghan walking out in Pretoria going, there's just been a level 7 earthquake in Christchurch. And I thought, that doesn't sound right. It's got to be Wellington.
Yeah.
That's always the place it's supposed to shake.
Yeah.
And then the one in February, I'd left 3 days before again to go to India to do some TV work for the World Cup.
Yeah.
So both times I missed it. I came back after my stint in India and got hit with a couple of really big earthquakes at home, where the kids were screaming and running everywhere, and the cars was bouncing when I was driving down the road. And it was terrifying, to be fair. I think the kids talk about how they were traumatised by it, and there are still little shakes now that I still feel. I think the ongoing effect of it is every time a truck goes past or a room shakes, you feel your heart just about to pop out of your chest. Absolutely crap yourself. And that hasn't changed since experiencing that. So it's certainly built resilience in the kids. They were at school, they ran out, stuff was falling over the place, nightmare. And they talked the other night about standing in the doorway and not being able to stand up as Trace was running around trying to get all the kids and put them into one room. So yeah, it's not great to live through, but builds, as I said, builds resilience. And it also gives you an appreciation of the simpler things, like this current pandemic is doing.
Like, and you guys are just rolling on. You're sort of self-isolating, or you're doing what you can, and life just goes on. Yeah, everything's it's sort of, life's just life, isn't it? It doesn't change too much.
No, I'm the designated shopper, so I actually get out of the house. We can run around the block, so I'm never a great runner. I've had to do something to keep control of the weight, so I'm running around my block. I'm the designated shopper, watching a heap of Netflix and think there's a lot of good shows on, but it's boring. Jeez, it's boring.
Yeah.
It's the little things you miss, just the company of your friends, going to your local coffee house, catching up with people for a quiet drink. Yeah. The simple things, and it does bring you back to those key things, and reminder that there's a lot of shit you worry about, but if you're doing all those other things, genuinely be relatively happy.
No, I mean that's exactly it, and then I match that back up with you doing your police college, and then having this, kind of not carefree, but there's if it doesn't go too good, it doesn't go too good, and I then match that up with your influence on the team when I was playing. You always had this, I'm not going to say air of superiority, but it didn't matter too much. There was just this, the guy that everyone looked at because he had it all worked out. And you did kind of have it all worked out. You had one of the best memories for bowling plans. We were sitting in a team meeting for Sri Lanka, and you're going, yeah, that, and you just, how did you have all of these things just stacked up in there? Just one of those things, or did you work?
I think I worked on it, but also I look now and go, God, I wish I'd been pushed by my coaches a little bit harder to bowl to different things, to try different things, and that's the role of the coach, isn't it? To try and get people outside their little box of stuff that they know, and expand that skill set, and try to find things that perhaps they don't believe they can do, and have confidence in that to do them. So I did. Within my space and the work that I did, I was really confident in my skill set. I always believed I worked as hard as anyone. I was well prepared. I did my scouting. But there's more that if I had me as the coach that I am now helping me as I was as the player, I'd be a far better bowler.
Yeah.
And then the second part, carrying into the coaching, is I've never tried to coach for my job. And whether it be media and cricket or playing or commentary, coaching, it's a fickle game. You can be Christmas one minute and gone the next, but I've never tried to instill a feeling that I'm coaching for my job. If I get sacked, I get sacked. And so if I bring that confidence into what I do, and I deliver what I do as a coach with confidence, and the player believes it, then I back that, when the bosses who come in and talk to the players, as they will, and say, what's Shane like, they'll back you. And if I don't offer anything or can't offer anything, then I'll get sacked. And so I should. So I think as a player, it was the same thing. I tried to strut around in my own mind like the opposition was scared of me. So when we were warming up, I used to think they're looking at me, worried about me. And it's bollocks, but again, it's that bravado and that confidence you're trying to display that you hope your teammates pick up on, but also the opposition get a sense of as well.
I remember warming up in first class games, or in domestic cricket, and going, I'm going to try and bowl real quick in the warm ups, because they're looking, they're looking over and they're going, he's bowling quick today, and we'll find a nice patch of the pitch or of the outfield to bowl on, so that it actually carries through, and slapping gloves up above the head. So you had that kind of, you wanted to paint that picture pre-game as well.
Definitely, I think it was. I was really nervous pre-game, so I like to take things really chilled and cool, but had that walk around like I'm going to walk like I own the show. And the same thing, when I bowl a few balls and warm up, I want it to go through quick, and just have that air of confidence. Then once I got over the line, I was fine. I relaxed because I was ready to go. But pre-game was, burning energy because I was wound up about what was coming, probably with excitement more than anything else.
So did you sleep the previous night? When did that nervous bit start? When did that start to fill the veins?
I always drank too much liquid because try to be hydrated, so you end up getting a couple of times a night for a leak, which was never great rest. But I think it's amazing what you remember. Once I got up and went to breakfast, I was wound up. So there's certain things like eggs. Eggs would make me feel ill. So there's certain foods that I had to eat to make sure I calm myself down. And then, I never enjoyed a coach who loved a warm-up like it was a fielding drill and, wanted intensity and wanted you to run around like an idiot, because to me it was just sucking my energy. Mm-hmm. All I needed to do was go for a run, do a sprint, bowl a ball at full intensity and be ready to go. That's what a warm-up's for. So that's how I coach now, All you do is be ready to play. You don't need to impress me. It's not training session. So it's amazing how those things that you like then roll into your coaching philosophy and the way you do things.
Do you have too many days where you're warming up and it's coming out junk, and then you walk straight into a game and it's pow, and it's coming out at 1,000 miles an hour? You must have had quite a few of those where it just so disjointed. Neither of those two things made any sense.
Oh, it's funny. I think of the days. I reckon I could count on one hand the days where you ran in and it just never felt like you were running in. It was so easy, and you could bowl 9 or 10 overs and never be tired and think, this is unbelievable. It's coming out like lightning. And the next day you'd come out and felt had lead in your legs, and it didn't matter how fast you tried to bowl. It was just pop. And there's no reason why that is, but there's only a few times in my career where I ever felt like I ran in and it was absolutely effortless.
Yeah.
And you just wish you could bottle that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And sell it. Just to finish on, you still owe me an ice cream. We finished that test match in Dunedin, had a couple of drinks at the pub, walked back. I bought you an ice cream on the way home. So you still owe me an ice cream, which is fine. I don't mind you catching me up on an ice cream when I see you next. But that was
when I'm over for the 100, I'll get you an ice cream.
Whenever that happens at some stage, yeah. My man Shane, that's a cool catch up, and you have mate. We didn't even talk about ICL, and that sadly had a big effect. We lost Shane Bond from the New Zealand team for a year. That had such a massive effect on the New Zealand team and on your career.
Yeah, it was a weird time. I remember, and I think you were playing 2008 Tour of England, and I was playing county cricket, being banned, and watching the boys playing in England. It was weird, and all my motivation. I was playing county cricket and T20, but I certainly wasn't as well prepared as what I probably could have been, because all my motivation and my preparation was about playing for New Zealand.
Yeah,
and it was as much as I was doing some stuff that I loved doing and playing county cricket, and that was good. And I always enjoyed the playing. But the success is built on your preparation, and when you haven't got that motivation to be playing for New Zealand, it was actually really hard. So I was lucky I got to come back and have another year or two doing it. But it was different. It was different watching your mates play test matches, particularly when you're around the corner and then caught up with them over there. It was tough.
Yeah, no, look, it was. I feel for you in that scenario. It was Anyway. Mate, horrible. Mate, thank you. Mate, well, I don't know. Yeah, it's sort of like, mate, it's just the worst sort of scenario where you've got permission and then it's like, well, no, you haven't. It's all been out of your hands and done the wrong way. And that's I think as a player, you as a player, you did everything right.
Look, it was just the situation. It wasn't ideal, but. I was getting well paid for what I was doing in the ICL. I was still playing cricket. I got to go and play for Hampshire for a few months, which was awesome. I met a hell of a lot of good people in the ICL, and it was a really relaxed, cool environment, actually. Mm-hmm. Guys who I played like against, Jason Gillespie's, Lance Klusner's, Heath Streaks, some great players who I knew because I played against them, but didn't know to the level that I got to know them on there, and still have those relationships with those guys. Still played for Canterbury and loved doing that. Mm-hmm. So look, it wasn't all doom and gloom. Yeah. Certainly, it was just. And to be fair, I'd spent a lot of time out with some injuries. I think if I hadn't got the opportunity to come back and play, I might have been a little bit more bitter and twisted. But because I did, I loved every minute of the couple of years I had. Look, it's all good. No drama.
Yeah, cool. Hey Shane, thank you so much for your time. Go and put the kids to bed.
They're up to wall. They're going to be after us. But the old fart's going to be. They're still up.
Oh well, maybe that's the secret. You got to get them to bed earlier so you can homeschool them better. That 33 seconds of time that they get. Mate, cool to see you, cool to catch up. Thank you so much for your time. Love you, bro. And we'll see you when you get over here for the 100.
Can't wait, mate. Take care, buddy.
Mate, awesome. Hi, Ian O'Brien here. Thanks for getting to the end of this 108 with IOB. I'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe, please. But also leave us a message down below in the comments about what was your most interesting or favourite part of this chat. Thanks a lot. Love ya.